right, ladies and gentlemen, the Ray Carr Show off and running, the outer limits of WIXY. And we certainly hit the outer limits in that first song, the Sonics, one of my favorite bands from Seattle, Washington. And we have more Sonics in the computer now than we ever had before, and that's gonna make it interesting for the show leading forward. But today we have a very special program, one of the greatest guitar players not only in the history of Cleveland rock and roll, but maybe the world. Good friend of mine, and you love him. He's just one of the best. Mr. Billy Sullivan is here.
Good morning, folks. And when you say that, I'm looking at the stairs like, when's he coming?
Oh, Billy, he's here. I could feel the aura. Billy, let's share with our audience that may not know some of the history of your career. When was the first time you picked up a guitar and you said, man, I love this? It's like when I picked up a baseball glove as a kid, I go, I want to play baseball every day. When was that moment for you? Well,
my mom had a guitar, and it was an old Kalamazoo acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And you know, she obviously knew how to play. I didn't. My oldest brother, John, he was a drummer in a band called the Shades of Grey in the 60s.
Shades of Grey.
And long story short, he sold the drums. I thought I was going to be a drummer at first because I was starting to.
You had the rhythm and everything?
I had the. In fact, I think probably my earliest time I've ever appeared in public was at the Brookgate Lanes Trophy Lounge. I was like probably 4 years old. Their band was playing.
This would have been 68?
This would have been, let's see, it's 2, 3, 4, about 66.
66?
Yeah.
Ooh. So,
they were playing Little Black Egg, so he would put me on his lap. I wasn't able to reach the pedals, but I was able to play the beat, you know, using the ride cymbal and the snare while I was sitting on his lap.
The Nightcrawlers, yeah.
Yeah, so that was probably the first time I was ever on stage.
And that was one of those licks that a lot of young guitar players could pick up like.
I don't know the words. I don't care what they say. Say Ray.
I don't know the rest of it. But it was a band from Florida that had a regional hit, then somebody started playing it, and it became a national hit.
Right.
And then Cap Records picked it up, and actually they had a number of other good songs too, but that was a song that you go, wow. Every guitar player goes, right. I can play that.
Yes.
I can play that song.
It's probably the first thing I probably figured out. But, you know, when my brother went, you know, he sold the drums when he went into the service.
Right.
In the Navy. So that was the end of my drumming, you know, and my mom had this old Kalamazoo acoustic guitar. And she showed me, to me, it was like the first 3 chords that I learned.
Uh-huh.
It was, to me, it's the most important ones in rock and roll. It's E major, A major, and the B7 that looks like a claw.
A claw.
See how my
yeah, I see that.
Those are like the 3 chords you hear in Mystery Train, you know. You know, that's my mom showed me those first 3 chords.
And you picked this up real quick. I mean, this is something you just automatically. She showed you the chords, and it was something that was.
Well, in the beginning. It was a little bit of a struggle. You know, there is tape. There is some tape that exists of me learning and struggling. I have it somewhere, but yeah, she showed me those first 3 chords, and from there I just kind of started listening to records and tried to pick out the best I could.
Uh-huh. And
then I actually took some lessons from a fellow named Chip Kandrick, which is a Brook Park guy, great teacher. This would have been at it was called the Music Adventures in Middleburg Heights, where the old Bojangles was.
Yeah, right, right.
That music store was up there, and Chip was a great teacher. And basically, he just kind of showed me the ropes. He showed me like. You know, obviously, you know, when you're first learning how to play, you got to learn more chords, obviously. And then you go through the Mel Bay, you know, that stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were interested in like listening to the records of the day and trying to pick up, okay, how's he doing the, you know, at that time it would have been the Eagles. You know, I was, you know.
Well, Take It Easy.
We were trying to figure out, you know, would show me
Right.
how to play the lead guitar stuff, and he showed me like how to bend
Bend the note.
and also the vibrato was, you know, you do it when you.
Who was the one that made that famous, do you think? Bending that note and making it part of the song more so than...
It could have been like Clapton. It could have been, because even the early Beatle records, George wasn't really bending,
Right.
because he was using heavy strings on those scratch guitars early. But he did. But I think during that time, you had Jimi Hendrix. I would say Clapton. Clapton was the one that was doing the bend in the vibrato. The blues guys did that too, like
Right.
Albert King and Freddie King.
Freddie King, right.
They definitely, and B.B. King kind of did it like
Magic Sound.
it's too bad you can't see what I'm doing, but the way
we have a video going, I think, too, yeah.
the way B.B. would just kind of shake his hand like that to do the vibrato.
Actually, we have a video camera here in the studio. Bill, if you hit that red switch right there, over to your right, on the wall. Yeah, if you hit that, I think people could see us online. No, they cannot. Okay, sorry.
That one? No?
Yeah, no, I guess it's not working now.
Okay,
sorry. But imagine in your mind, you're laying in your bed or you're sitting in your kitchen. Just imagine what Bill's doing right now. We're speaking live with Billy Sullivan. My name is Ray Carr. This is the Outer Limits of WIXY, and that really holds extremely true today, because we are taking a walk down not only memory lane, but we're learning something about the music that a lot of us love, but we didn't really know about. Now, blues, of course, when you say that word, it means it's a vast swath of so many different things. Otis Rush, Magic Sam,
right.
Leadbelly, Robert Johnson, all those people. But Clapton and Peter Green and a lot of those English musicians took that music and just kind of made it their own, and then it kind of, Led Zeppelin took their take on that too.
Right, exactly. I think a lot of us, people of our age group, probably that was the first exposure to blues.
Yes.
Is hearing how the British people did it, and then just brought it back to
Paul
us.
Butterfield was another guy.
Yes, my oldest brother loved Paul Butterfield.
Zeppelin's like Whole Lotta Love was supposedly taken from Muddy Waters' You Need Love. It was that lick, and they took the lyrics and they made their own harder version of it. Do you think Jimmy Page do you think he plagiarized, or do you think he just enhanced the music? How would you assess that?
I would think it was an influence. Mm-hmm. So basically, like I say, those people like Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, they loved American blues,
right?
And that adapted in their own style of playing. It's funny that you mentioned Whole Lotta Love, because for years I've been playing it wrong.
Okay, well, show us.
Because you think this is the way. That's wrong.
Okay.
What the right way, and then how I found that out, not only by listening to the record a little bit more close, but like Joe Walsh did a video on this subject. He goes, everybody's playing it wrong. Jimmy, when he hit the D note, he would also hit the fretted note and the open string, and he would bend. You hear the difference?
Yeah.
It's one of those cool things that I totally missed, and a lot of people missed until I saw that video. And you go back and listen to the record. Yeah, put it on. You'll hear it.
All right, let's just play this for just a moment here, so we can take a listen here. Yeah. Yeah.
When the bass comes in.
Yeah. John Paul Jones. Right.
You really hear it in the very first one.
Yeah.
Baby, I'm not fooling. I'm gonna sit
Yeah.
back to schooling.
Yeah.
Way down inside. Honey, you need it. I'm gonna give you my love. I'm gonna give you my love. Oh, wanna hold on to love. Wanna hold on to love.
I have a slide somewhere.
Yeah, it was recorded in, what, 1968?
Yeah.
Yeah, or 69, actually. But interesting song. What a great song. Led Zeppelin had, we'll save that for later, but Led Zeppelin had so many great songs, and it really just is amazing of how they were able to take some of these songs and just make them their own. And maybe the test of time really showed that these songs were even better than when we first heard them.
I think what they did is they amped it up, they amplified it. Even you can hear the early blues records. They're playing the little amplifiers and they're distorting, and it sounds dirty and gritty.
Right.
Which should be, but I think Led Zeppelin kind of just took it a step further. Like what's it? The other. What's that? I should have quit you. We need Rich here to sing the Zeppelin. Long time ago. You hear the original. Like the old blues recording.
Exactly,
of that,
yeah. What do you think one of the most difficult riffs to play in rock and roll, but is one of the most recognizable as a guitar player? I mean, you make it look very easy, but I'm sure that a lot of the riffs that you play and some of the great songs that you play are not as easy as you make them look to be.
The funny thing is, there's so many riff-oriented songs. You can think of the Yardbirds, That's not very hard to play.
No.
Think of the Beatles.
Well, let's talk about that. I wanted to get into the Beatles, of course, and we want to get into the Kinks and stuff. A lot of the British stuff, we've already touched upon a little bit of it, but the Beatles have such an incredible catalog of music, and we talked off the air about Day Tripper, which is... Let's go into Day Tripper. I want to play this song first, and I want to talk about it if we do that here. And Day Tripper was, 19? It was off the Rubber Soul album.
65?
Yeah, I think it was recorded in 1965.
See, I remember the American releases. I think it was on the Yesterday and Today.
It was, and I think the British, because there were two different releases here.
Yeah.
Let's see, we get this on.
Classic. And John's part.
Yeah.
A little rhythm behind it.
We'll just keep it right there, but that's just a great riff,
right? And
it's just something very simple. And people don't realize Ringo Starr was actually left-handed, but he played right-handed.
Yes. That's kind of, drummers would lead, because I play drums a little bit too, and it's weird. I'm the same way. I would probably lead into a roll. I'm not sure what the correct way is, but I know that's what made Ringo unique.
Jeff West was trying to explain this to me. He was here before. You remember?
Jeff?
Yeah,
he's my former bandmate.
Yeah, Jeff West is an amazing drummer and just a great human being. And he was explaining all this stuff about drumming. I'm looking at him like, Jeff, I don't drum, but I'm trying to picture this in my mind, how a guy could be left-handed but teach himself to play right-handed because of the drum kit and do it so effectively that you barely notice.
It's weird because if Ringo would lead into a fill, he would use his left hand as opposed to again, I'm on the video.
Yeah.
If the drummer's just kind of playing a groove with the hi-hat and stuff, and you want to use his right hand to lead into the fill.
Right.
Ringo would somehow interrupt his hi-hat hand and lead with his left hand, which there is a video and he explains that. I think it's something him and Dave Stewart. It's online from the Eurythmics.
Yeah, right.
Interviews him, and Ringo's behind the drum kit, and he goes, he demonstrates how he came up with the Ticket to Ride beat and stuff.
Right, from Help, yeah.
But the Beatles, they in my mind, they started it all. They made drumming cool. They come up with riff songs. The bass comes in the second time around, and then John's part was really cool. So that.
Right, they all had their ideas of how the song should go, and it was George Martin that was able to package all that together where it was going to be able to sound better.
I think the greatest asset for George Martin, besides doing the orchestration stuff. But he let them do their thing, but he would just give them guidance. You know, like, well, maybe you should do. I'm trying to think of an example. You know, I always read that, like at the end of "She Loves You," the 6th chord. You know, that where they would sing the 6th chord vocally, and what was it? George Martin. You know, him being classically trained. Well, it's not that clever, but it's great for a pop record for 1963.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he had an ear for that.
Absolutely.
Classically trained, George Martin, and was able to really just adapt that talent into what was popular or needed to, he thought, would be a hit in today's music back in the 60s. And he just had a great ear for that. And it just evolved when he did Sgt. Pepper. Think of all the sophisticated music on Sgt. Pepper for the benefit of Mr. Kite.
Absolutely. He made that a reality. You know, in John's mind, he wanted to, what did he say? He wanted to, like, smell the sawdust of the circus.
Yeah,
you know, he wanted to create that feeling in his mind. If I could just smell the sawdust.
Yeah.
So he made with all these tape loops and stuff, and made the kaleidoscope and all that stuff, and it's amazing. I mean, that's something today could be done very easy with computers and Pro Tools.
But
they did it with tapes. You know, what was the story about Tomorrow Never Knows of all the
from Revolver?
Yeah, all these. They had like 3 different tape machines rolling with different loops and stuff, and
turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out as a kid what that really meant. Of course, I never did drugs, so I but then as I got older, I go, I get it. Escape from reality. But I mean, to a point that, you know, it's like well beyond what I could have understood. I guess you would have to take those certain drugs to find out.
My parents were very understanding. You know, my mom being, I always tell everybody she was a musician, because technically she was.
Mm-hmm.
She had the musical smarts. She knew how to play. She got it. She got the whole Beatle thing, and she was very encouraging about it.
Well, that's unusual for your mom's generation, because
and I was the youngest too, so I think they were out of 6 of us. But I think by the time I got to the White Album with the number 9, my dad didn't quite get that. He didn't get that.
Well, I still didn't get it, but not that I didn't like it. I just didn't. You know, speaking of the White Album, Bungalow Bill, I heard a story about that. They were in India, and Paul had, one of the people that were in India with the Maharishi had killed a tiger, and Paul wrote it, and they wrote a song about that,
right?
Because he was offended or John did, and it was about the guy that killed that nice tiger.
Yeah,
and that was, you know, the impetus of that song.
It's amazing how many songs that came out of that trip.
And Donovan Leitch was there too. Yeah, I love that. That's like a flamenco guitar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of reminds you a little bit of Django Reinhardt.
Hey, Bungalow Bill, what did you kill? Bungalow Bill. Hey, Bungalow Bill, what did you kill? Bungalow Bill.
Yeah, great stuff. We're live with the great Billy Sullivan right here on WIXY1260 online. And we're just going to take a little break right here. Let me get to a request. My good friend Joe Fumick is listening somewhere in the beautiful city of North Olmsted, Ohio. Joe, here's your request. We'll be back with much more with Billy Sullivan. Oh my goodness, 1951, back in the good old days, well before I was born. But yes, that was early rhythm and blues. They called it rock and roll later on, but that was Tiny Bradshaw. Train Kept a Rollin', covered by Johnny Burnett, covered by Aerosmith, covered by a lot of different people. But that was the original. I've always fell in love with the early rhythm and blues stuff. Rocket 88 was another one of those great early rock and roll songs. With me right now is one of the, not only he's a great guitar player, but an even better human being. This is Billy Sullivan. He's live with me on WIXY1260 online.
Good morning, everyone.
Here at the Larry Morrow Studios.
Yeah, here we are. There he is.
Old Larry, yeah. You can email us. Obviously, you're listening online, so you can email us or call 216-744-9499, and we'll be able to, well, Bill can play a lot of different songs, or if you have a question or two, Bill will certainly be able to answer that. But before we get to another song, Bill's going to tell us where he's going to be performing in the next couple of weeks or so.
Well, later today we have a clan bake.
Yay!
Spina and Sullivan will be at Arnie's, that's our normal Monday night haunt that we play. But we're doing their clam bake later today, which I think it starts at 3, and we go on at 4. Then we get to leave our gear set up, and we play there Monday night for our normal Monday night show at 7 p.m.
And that's a good show. I've been there many times, and I'm actually doing the Queen of Hearts at Gunzelman's Tavern, so I leave when I'm done with that, and I usually go over and watch them. But they're great. And, Rich Spina's been on the show before, and when
my brother from another mother.
Yeah, there's something about the magic that you guys have together. It's like you almost know what each other's going to do without even saying anything.
Exactly. It's weird because me and Rich have been friends for a lot of years. He went to school with my older brother, so my older brother was always singing my praises to Rich. Which Rich is about. Sorry, I'm letting everybody know, Rich. He's 7 years older than I am.
Right, he graduated in '74 from Mid Park. Yeah.
So once I got into the Paul Pope band and stuff, and we became pals, and we were. Back then, this was like his love. He would come off the road from Love Affair. I would come off the road for Paul Pope, and Monday night we'd end up starting out at Kirkiano Studio, and then we ended up down to the Flats or down to the Agora. Mm-hmm. It was we became fast friends back in those days, and we started playing together. I would say 86, 87, somewhere around that time.
86, wow.
And we started the duo. We rehearsed once, and then it's we never turned back.
Yeah, and you've been through so many incarnations of different bands and played with different people in and out like that. Was there, most of the experiences you've had on stage have been incredible, but what happens when things don't go right? Did you learn early on how to handle the situation when things don't go the way you want them to go, and it's kind of turning in a difficult, to a difficult situation?
I think depending on the situation, I think you have to kind of soldier on, because most of the time I think the audience is not realizing if there's something wrong.
Exactly right.
And if you make it look like, oh my God, so you just kind of my way of thinking is just kind of just let it roll off your shoulder, and it is what it is, and see you at the next song.
I learned that too. Of course I'm not a musician, but doing MC work and stuff and being a DJ, things happen.
Right.
But the professionals never let anything know that happens. I mean, it happens, but they don't know it happens.
But that doesn't always happen sometimes. No. I've been told that sometimes I have a certain look in my face.
But they have
when that happens.
I don't know. Billy looks a little bit distressed out there. Maybe he's just tired.
Yeah.
Billy, let's share some more great riffs with us. Play some, maybe a couple of favorites of yours that you really you love the riff to, and you just.
Well, we were, if I may, we were talking about the Beatles earlier, and the riff songs that they came up with. I think for me, one of the most difficult ones is "I Feel Fine," because the way it's correctly done is up here. Let's see. First he got the recorded feedback off the acoustic guitar, and then he went. See how I'm doing that? Now I'm having difficult with the stretch of my pinky finger. Let's see. When I get down here, I can't reach. I just don't have the reach on my pinky finger.
Right.
That's the way John Lennon did it, and he did it on that smaller Rickenbacker guitar. So I adapted. I do it. You know what I mean? It's to me that's difficult to do it the traditional way. Especially down here. I don't have that stretch.
So you almost have to have long fingers.
Which I obviously never had, but now the older I get and arthritis sits in, it's hard to even do any kind
Absolutely.
which is terrible for guitar players. But anyways, I think that riff alone it's just a difficult riff, and you see it doesn't appear to be difficult when you hear it, but when you see them do it, like you see the old footage of the Beatles doing it live and Lennon starting it off, and it's like, man, he was a better guitar player than people gave him credit for.
And why didn't he play lead guitar? I mean, why do you think that he let George do
I think
it?
sometimes he did. I think with the Beatles, it was all about whoever wrote the song was the master. That's why I think George was pretty generous of letting Paul play. You know, Paul played lead guitar on a couple, you know, the Taxman. That was McCartney that came up with all that. And he kind of did that Eastern type of influence for George.
Yeah.
But George was that type of, he seemed to be that type of guy that like, oh, you got an idea? Oh, yeah, go ahead and do it. You do it. You know, which I'm not sure if my guitar player ego would have allowed
Well,
that.
it seems like it came to a realization that they were all such great musicians and great writers that they figured that, you know, it's leave the egos at the door. That's kind of
It was all about the song and all about the record.
unselfishness.
And I mean, you see, I mean, especially seeing that Get Back documentary that came out a few years ago, you really see John playing some great guitar in that. Even him just messing around you know, he's doing old like show tunes on the guitar, but like a. Lennon was the one that drove the song. You know, George was doing this. Lennon was going. And he came up with the. I mean, that's great guitar playing.
it is.
And then the solo.
Do you think some of John Lennon's greatness got lost with some of the political stuff that he had later on in his career? And because he was a fun-loving guy and he was very funny,
Right.
But a lot of that seemed to have been washed away by some of the other minutia that he was involved in.
I think that probably he used his music as a tool, to, you know, to get his political message across at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because when I was a kid, I mean, I loved the Beatles. Anybody that knows me knows that fact.
Yes.
But at that time, I probably was more of the solo work. I was listening to George and Ringo and obviously Paul more than I was John, because I was a kid. What do I know about power to the people? You know,
Well, it didn't mean it-
being 10 years old.
Yeah,
you
just,
know,
it didn't resonate with us.
you know, I liked Instant Karma. You know, now I've grown to love those records. But back then, I was more about listening to what was the hits. You know.
Well, right. And you remember the Ballad of John and Yoko really kind of rocked.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember that one. And, well, they took that song. There was a riff in there near the end of it called From Lonesome Tear in My Eye by Johnny Burnett. But the Ballad of John and Yoko was just, was one of those songs. The picture, did you have the picture, Sleeve 45? With
Oh,
that?
yeah. It had Yoko on it and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think that was one of the last pictures they all had together.
You know, ironically, you know, John and Paul are the only two Beatles on that record.
That's correct. Paul played drums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's play that right now for the audience. Here we go.
WIXY1260 weather.
Weather or not, we're going to give it. We're going to give the weather right now. Wind and rain today, 98% chance of precipitation, high 71, low 51. Tomorrow, mostly clear, 58 and 49. Only a 20% chance of rain, and the same on Tuesday. A little bit warmer on Tuesday, but yeah, the warm weather continues, and tomorrow it'll drop off a little bit. But one thing you can always count on, WIXY1260 Online, will be sunshine, lollipops, and excitement, especially today with Billy Sullivan. We're going to play a song by Eric Carmen. We'll come back and talk about it. If you have a request, email us or call 216-744-9499. Have Love Will Travel. That's the great Richard Berry. He wrote that one and covered by the Sonics up in front of that. They were from Seattle, Washington. And if you're not familiar with the Sonics, take some time and listen to their records. They're really one of the great early garage bands of 1965, 66, and there is a documentary about them too. Wonderful band. My name is Ray Carr. This is the Outer Limits of WIXY, and we're just taking a little stroll down the Primrose Lane in the outer periphery, if you will, of this great musical journey that we're having. And we're blessed to be joined with not only a great guitar player, a great human being, but a great humanitarian as well. Mr. Billy Sullivan is here explaining rock and roll. We're just talking shop here and just having a lot of fun this morning. And Bill says, I'm gonna stick around, and I'm honored that he would do that. Bill, before we go into another song, maybe just explain some of the other places that you're going to be playing.
Yes, there's an event coming up this coming Tuesday at the Beachland Ballroom, and it's called the 10,000 Watts of Holy Light Charity Benefit, celebrating Michael Stanley. And it's the Resonators are headlining. I'm performing with SSB, myself, Rich Spina, and the great Jim Bonfanti from the Raspberries. I'm also performing with Mark Afsek from the Donnie Iris Band, right, and Wild Cherry, Frank Amato and Friends. And the one I'm really excited about, I'm actually performing with the James Gang.
Wow.
I mean, talk about an honor, and talk about big shoes to fill. I mean, that's Joe Walsh. I told those guys, if Joe shows up, I'll gladly step aside.
Well, wouldn't it be great if Joe shows up and goes, I want to go on stage with Billy? And would that be an honor?
I have no words.
But I'm sure it would be fantastic.
That would be awesome.
Joe, I think some people in this area take Joe for granted. I mean, we all know that he's great, but what do you think specifically as a guitar player, technically, made Joe such a great guitar player?
He's got patience. He's got this slow, deliberate way about his playing that makes it like soulful and only in his own way. I mean, when he plays slide, it's like I wish I had an electric guitar with me because I could demonstrate, at least the riff to, like, say, Funk 49. And Dale has been, during rehearsal, he's like, you got to be more deliberate, more. And he's right, because Joe was always just kind of, I wouldn't call him slow hand like Eric Clapton, but he had just this deliberate, slow approach. Not that he couldn't play fast, he can. But like when, like, say, I can't bend the G string on the acoustic guitar, but see, I can't bend the string.
Yeah,
I could do it on here. He had this kind of this laid back approach to his guitar playing.
Right.
That makes it really special. I mean, you hear it, those solos at the classic solos at the end of Hotel California. Don Felder is a great finesse
I just
player.
talked to Don Felder, actually.
Great player. Yeah. He starts it off, and then Joe comes in with his. Joe's just wonderful, and we're just lucky on the planet that we have him.
And we still have him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's great stuff. And you have a couple other gigs coming up.
Yes, another one I'd like to mention. This one is going to be really fun. Just want to make sure I have the right date in front of me. Next month, on November 25th, it would be the Tuesday right before Thanksgiving. I'm going to be performing at the EC50 event, and that's celebrating Eric Carmen's music, and it's also celebrating the 50th anniversary of the first release of Eric Carmen's solo album.
And where could people get tickets? This is at the Lakewood Civic Auditorium.
I don't have that information of where to get tickets. I never know that information.
I'll find out for you, folks. Don't worry. I'll get the information.
It's the original. Steve Nill is the original bass player that's on the record. Don Kruger, which we all know and love, is on the record. He's involved.
Donnie Kruger, yeah.
Absolutely. And Rich Spina is the music director. And we're kind of augmenting the band, and we're going to play the album in its entirety, have an intermission, and then we're going to play some more of Eric Carmen's great solo stuff and some Raspberry stuff. And there's some special guests that are also involved, and it also involves the Lakewood
Project.
The Lakewood Project, and it's these very, very young, talented musicians that are going to be augmenting the band with the orchestra as well. And it's awesome. It's going to be a great event.
Music director Beth Hankins was the one that kind of helped organize.
Yes, she's basically between her managing the orchestra and Rich doing the music directing for everything else. Right. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
It sounds like a great time. So it's November 25th at 7:30, Lakewood Civic Auditorium, basically 1 block from my house. I could almost hear the event going on.
And the only other thing I got coming up this year would be, we do it every year, the Frank Amato's All-Star Christmas Jam with the Cleveland All-Stars. And it's all of us Cleveland people get together. That's going to be, it's usually right before Christmas, and that's like December 23rd, I believe, at the Music Box. And all the proceeds go to the charity that Frank supports for autism. And it's all of us that's still around that plays the Cleveland music. Rich will be involved in that. Boku. We honor Cleveland music at that event, and and it's been, they sell it out every year.
It's a good event. I've been there before, so it is a good event. All right, we're live on WIXY1260 online, and I'll be here till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Bill will not be, but Bill will stick around a little bit longer. Bill, what are some of your maybe obscure 60s songs that you really like that maybe you don't play much, but you just really loved hearing them, whether besides Nightcrawler's Little Black Egg?
Well,
were there any others?
There's plenty. I mean, like say of course, I always refer to the Beatles. There's a song of theirs called "I'll Be on My Way" that they wrote very early on. It was one of John and Paul's first songs that they've written. Back the Beatles version, you could probably find it's on the live at the BBC.
Yeah, I do have it. It's on
Billy J. Kramer did a nice version of it, but I've always loved that one because it's a rare song. Should I play it, or are you going to play it here?
No, I don't have it. You play it, please.
I'll do a little bit of it.
Okay.
The sun is fading away. That's the end of the day. As the June light turns to moonlight, I'll be on my way. Just one kiss and I'll bury Buddy Holly.
Yeah, very much so.
Don't hide the tears that don't show. As the June light turns to moonlight, I'll be on my way to where the winds don't blow and golden rivers flow. This way will I go. They will right what was wrong. True love didn't last long. As the June light turns to moonlight, I'll be on my way.
Great song.
It's a great tune.
Do people come up and ask you for this stuff? Like say, the clam bake today. I mean, you're going to have your traditional repertoire, but do people ever come up and say, "Hey, can you play a song like that?" Or
every once in a while, there'll be somebody that'll come up and they'll ask me and Rich to do something. There's a fella that comes out every Monday, and forgive me, I don't know his name. I know his face, but he's the one that would request something like this, or he always requests like Mr. Moonlight. Or,
right.
Which I would break the microphone if I tried to demonstrate that one now.
The original was by Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
Right, and the Good Timers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually that was not a hit. It was a good song, but it just was one of those songs that, how did the Beatles pick up on that one and go, we want to record Mr. Moonlight, or, The Devil in My Heart by the Donays, which was a female group.
I just think they were just such big fans of music, and they were getting all these records from the, being Liverpool, being a seaport city, and that's how they even got the American made guitars was through like sailors that would bring them back to England. They'd bring back records and guitars and stuff like that.
That's good stuff. All right, let's play some more music. We'll come right back with Billy Sullivan. This is, we were talking about Buddy Holly. Let's play some Buddy Holly. Oh, there we go. Sweet City Woman. Dave Clark and Friends, Mike Smith on lead vocals. The Stampeders from Canada did that one originally, and that was on the Bell label. But Dave Clark and Friends covered it, and it was a pretty good rendition of it. Never made it, but I found that on one of the rarities CD that Dave Clark and Friends put out. And there was a book. Let me tell you about this book. I interviewed a guy from London. His name was Peter Chexfield. And Peter Chexfield writes, you can look this guy up. He's wonderful. He writes books about all the British acts. The Hollies, the Yardbirds, you name it. And he wrote a book about the Dave Clark Five. Well, the book got pulled almost immediately from Dave Clark. He said, well, you're not going to be able to publish this. After he already released the book, I have a copy of it. So the book's worth a fortune now because there's only a few copies out there. But it chronicled every single release the Dave Clark Five and the Dave Clark Five and Friends released. And I was looking through the book, and I go, wow, I didn't know they released this. Southern Man, they covered that.
Yeah, I never heard that.
Why would they have done that? Even though I listened to it, it was pretty good, and you can hear it on YouTube if you like, but I thought, wow, that's pretty creative and pretty, pretty interesting.
They also did a cover that I remember of Get Together, the Youngbloods.
Right.
It's actually kind of cool because, when they get to the chorus, it definitely kick into Dave Clark 5. Oh, come on, people now.
Yeah, they have their own little personal thing on that one, right. Now, listening to all the great songs throughout the years, there's been some really good covers. Now, do you have a preference of like certain covers that are better than the original?
Oh my God, yes. And I'm trying to think.
Because sometimes, most of the times I like the original better than the cover, but sometimes the cover actually is better than the original.
I think, for instance, like Love Hurts.
Well, the Everly Brothers did
the Everly Brothers. I mean, you hear that's like a dirge, and I love the Everly Brothers. But
Filling down, yeah.
That vocal performance, was it Dan McCafferty was the lead singer?
Yeah, from Scotland.
From Nazareth. I mean, that's just, I can't even do it.
Well, It would, yeah. And then, of course, the Hair of the Dog, Heartbreaker, Soul Shaker, I've Been Told About You. I mean, we can't get into any more of the Hair of the Dog, but it was, they had those two hits and then probably within a year, and that was the end of Nazareth, pretty much.
They had a later hit that actually charted and it was on MTV. It was a song called Holiday. That ironically,
I don't think I ever played that.
When Alex Harvey, the sensational Alex Harvey band, broke up, Sal Clemenson, the guitar player that wore the mime, joined Nazareth. He was a member along with the original four. So he was like a fifth member of the band. It was like a... Well, drinking my wine, taking my time, I'm over this holiday. Remember that song?
Yes, I do.
It's a holiday. I wish I knew the holiday, Mama, please. Yeah, that's like the chorus, but it's a great tune.
And it's one of those songs. It's not on our computer, but it's I do remember it now. And it's funny how musicians kind of evolve. Some of them evolve. They go in upward directions. Some go sideways, and unfortunately, some don't. Some go down. It's always interesting to see the ones that really blossom and then maybe come back to where they originally started from.
Right.
And I think Paul McCartney, as much solo material as he put out over the years, his kind of went left, right, up, down, and I think he's always going to come back to where he started again, and maybe his first solo album.
Right.
Maybe I'm Amazed, and Teddy Boy, and a bunch of other stuff out there, which I love, and I know you love it too.
Oh, absolutely.
And Junk was one of my favorite songs.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If you had to pick a song off the first two solo albums by Paul McCartney, what would that be?
Well, Junk would be one. Every Night. I've always loved Every Night. Like Ram, I would pick Backseat of My Car.
Yes, I think that was a fantastic one as well. And we're going to find something here. Let me start out with this one by Paul McCartney. We'll share with the audience. Recorded in Lagos, Africa, Nigeria. This is from the Band on the Run album, 1985, which I always thought was a really good song.
Yeah.
Here we go. Denny Lane, Linda McCartney, and Paul. There we go. Paul McCartney. From the album, Band on the Run, 1985. That was 1973, released 74. My name is Ray Carr, and I'm on beautiful WIXY, WIXY1260 Online with Billy Sullivan live in studio.
WIXY1260. Woo!
And we were talking just prior to that song about another Paul McCartney tune that we really like, and I'm sure most of you out there remember the song from his first solo album in 1970. It was called Junk.
Yeah. Beautiful tune. Let's see if I can do it justice.
Great song. Great job, Bill.
And I'll give you that back.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was just... did you ever read a story about why he put the cherries on the cover of that first album?
No.
I didn't either. I just always wondered why. Very interesting idea for an album cover.
Right.
And, you know, back in those days, each Beatle had their own, they were all trying to go their separate ways. George, of course, had the album All Things Must Pass. Ringo opened up with Sentimental Journey, which I love those old songs, which I could relate to. And then John, you know, John did Imagine, and, you know, he had a lot of other, I think he was battling with some other psychological demons, but, you know, they all eventually just came together to appreciate their own talent. I think it took a little while for them to break apart, then come back together, just before John's death. What do you think John's legacy would be today? I know it's an impossible question to answer, but if John were alive, in your opinion, knowing what you know about him, what kind of music do you think he would have eventually done? Would he have done folk? Would he have continued on the same path? Or, you know, I'm just curious from your perspective.
Well, it's obvious after the 5-year hiatus that he did. You know, Double Fantasy was a great production, a very slick production. I think he had that. I think that was intentional. He had it in mind to be back on the charts, to be back on top again, and have a really slick sounding record. There's some Beatle fans that are not a fan of that record. I am. I remember I bought that record. It was my 18th birthday. In the month before he got, in November of
1980.
1980, I turned 18. I got that album, and when The Unthinkable happened, I couldn't listen to that record for the longest time. And still, to me, the saddest song is "Beautiful Boy" on there.
And I heard you do that at Arnie's the other day.
Yeah. I've been kind of, you know, playing it lately. I used to do that with my friend Kathy Fleetwood in Chicago. We used to do that song, and that had a special meaning for her because she had a special needs nephew and stuff. And I used to say his name at the end of the song instead of Sean. Right. And Kathy would always well up and cry every time I would do it, you know.
It just goes to show you the power of music. How music affects all of us, you know, no matter what. And it strikes a chord, if you will, in our minds and it's so important, the music, to keep it kind of keeps you balanced.
Right.
If you didn't have music, Bill, your life would be hard.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, because you need this, and I kind of need it in my own way to do the broadcasting of it, so it kind of balances me out as well. Because we can share things with people, and when we see the reaction that we get from people when we play stuff or talk about stuff, it makes us feel like, you know, it just brings us all together.
Right.
I love that.
Well, that's what we hope for. I mean, us being musicians and doing it for a living, that's our, you know, I mean, that's our focus. Our focus is to bring that to you and also make a living at the same time. You know, I would like to, the older I'm getting, I would like to get back to making music for fun, for the fun of it again. I don't know when that'll be. Instead of like thinking about the job and thinking about the professional end of things.
Right.
You know, maybe do some sort of a rock and roll band that, you know, something, you know, something to kind of, you know, think of doing what made you get into this business in the first place. You know, it was the fun of it. It was the joy of like interacting with different musicians and just doing something that you don't always do, you know, like on a routine.
That's right, yeah. Why don't you play one of your solo songs to kind of end things here?
Okay.
Yeah, I got to play this first, so hang on real quick.
Your music, your memories, now commercial and static free. WIXY1260 Online.
WIXY Cleveland.
All right, we have Billy Sullivan in studio. We'll let Billy share one more with us. We're grateful to have him, Bill. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So this is off one of your solo albums.
Well, this would have been, I call it the medley of my hit because it's the only hit I've ever had. I mean, back in 1985, I recorded or co-wrote this song with Walt Nims. You remember Walt?
Oh, yeah.
Precious in View. He was I was managed at the time by Tom King, and so I kind of became exposed to that Outsiders family very early on. And you know, Walt was coming to town. He was living in Los Angeles at the time, but he would come to town, and he pitched some songs that he'd written. This particular one, it was something that we came up with together. Although I didn't get credited for it on the record, but that was a management decision, and I get it. But I'm proud of this song that we came up with, and I'm going to do a more of a quieter version. The song is called Never Again Without You.
Okay, hold on one second here. I was just going to share this with us here. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're right.
So it's...
Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Sullivan. Billy, if people would like to get some of your music, where would you suggest that they go?
Well, it's online. I mean, iTunes and Apple Music, and it's on Spotify, and it's on all those social media platforms.
Yeah. We just like to make sure we cover the bases.
Thank you.
Billy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I really, really enjoyed it, and would love to have you back again. And best of luck with the upcoming projects.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time.
So let's, we played this one a little bit earlier. Let's continue playing it. It is called Precious and Few, but this is going to be in Italian.